What's up, y'all? It's your boy Chris here, your one and only Data Bunny. So, in this quick video, we're going to actually go over what the switches look like, right? So, in the last video, I talked about, in a more lecture type of way, what switches are, how they function, things like that. This video, I'm going to be more hands-on, all right? So, we're actually just going to go around my lab and I'm going to show you all what switches look like and how you can tell the difference between a switch and a router, and also the different types of switches, and we're just going to take a look. So follow me in this video and let's get right to it. All right, guys, so what you see behind me is my actual home lab slash home network, right? This is one lab here. You got my Cisco books there. This is one lab here, and then you also have my other lab here too as well, which includes my actual home network, which runs on Fortinet equipment. And then you have all that. You have the servers down there. You have some access points on there, things like that. So this is what we're gonna pretty much go over. So follow me. Okay, so I want to start off with a smaller lab first, just because this is right in your face, and I sort of get a good chance to show you all the different devices of a networking environment as far as the infrastructure goes. So here we have, sitting on top of here, are routers. This is what I talked about earlier regarding IP addresses and them being able to process traffic and routing things to different parts of the internet. These are switches. All right, now early on I explained how switches have a lot of ports on them, right? Well, this is a good opportunity for me to show you all exactly what I meant by that when I explained it in my last video. So again, right, we have all of the different mini ports, and usually how switches will go is they will have odds at the top, evens at the bottom. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then it will go again, 13, 14, 15, and it will just go up, right? The different, you may find a switch model somewhere on the faceplate of the switch. So in this case, this is a Catalyst 3650 48. 48 meaning the amount of ports, right? Not counting these, which I will explain in a little bit. But these are 48 ports in total from here to here. And PoE, well, I'll just say PoE, you may see here, this is power over Ethernet. So power over Ethernet means that power can be supplied from the ports. So when you plug a phone with no AC adapter, or you plug a wireless access point to these ports, it will power up that phone or that wireless access point without you having to use a power over Ethernet injector, which will plug into the wall, and you have to plug the Ethernet cable into that end and then plug the other Ethernet cable into the network to receive power. Or you don't need to use, again, an AC adapter for that. The switch can provide power for those devices. And then you have 4x10G, right? What do that mean? Well, 4 is the amount of ports, and 4x, I will say, is the amount of ports, and 10G is 10 gigabits. So 10 gigabit ports, 4 of them are here. So these are the 10 gig ports. Now, as you can see, I have something plugged into the port 1, and this will be TE1, and you can see it blinking. So TE1 is 10 Ethernet. So just think like 10 gig Ethernet. That's just how they have it. And then like these will be like GI in the interface for a gigabit. But here, that's what you have. And what is this, right? This is a fiber optic cable. This is a multi-mode fiber optic cable. And inside of that is this little metal piece there. See if I can zoom in. That little metal piece is what you call an SFP port. So that is what those are, or SFP modules, right? Those are what you will use for, fiber connections, because you can't plug them directly into this port because they're just going to be loose, without that module in it. And that just sends light. So you have Ethernet, which you see here, which uses electrical impulses, right, to send data. fiber optics uses light to send data. And light is very fast. And that explains why fiber optics are used a lot in very critical network infrastructure environments, especially when connecting geolocations together. Huge data centers, light, you need that light. It's just fast compared to electricity going through the wire. And keep in mind, copper wire on top of that. So this is a switch, and you will see that it's connected to something, and this switch is connected all the way to another switch here. This is another Cisco switch. This is a catalyst. See if I could zoom in there. It's pretty dark. A catalyst. I want to get you to see that 9300L switch. It is pretty dark here, but this again plugs into an SFP port, and this is a 10 gig connection. You can actually see the 10G right there. Okay, so that's the 10 gig connection, and you'll see these lights too as well blinking. So there's some data going through it. Well, I will say electrical impulses going through these ports. When you see these blink, that's actually electrical impulses hitting the port. And then you have copper, right? You have this yellow cable going up and around through here to some end device, right? You have an access point, which I just got hanging right now. This is a wireless access point that is going and connecting into this switch here. Then you also have this black cable that is going into a Palo Alto firewall. Again, we also talked about firewalls, which I will also explain in a different video. But we also have the lights here. We have this connection going up to, again, another port that goes to some end device. And then we have some more switches. Here's another switch. This is a non-PoE switch, meaning it doesn't supply power, but you can still connect data to it. So we have things connected here, right? These connections are going up to a server, and that actually goes down back there. We have all different types of stuff connected. Again, here is another firewall. This is a 40-gauge 70F. And then we also have a wireless LAN controller. Right now, it's just conserving energy, so the display is off, but it's actually on and doing what it needs to do. And the wireless LAN controller, right? We talked about wireless LAN. It communicates with access points and things like that. And these are just many other switches. This is actually a firewall down here, but there are many other switches. This is a Cisco Nexus switch. And we can just go all day with all different types of switches. Now you're probably asking, what is this? Like, why is this blue and why all this is gray? Well, these are actually 10 gig connections. So if I haven't explained earlier, some Cisco switches will have and be able to differentiate certain ports. So you may have a group of 12 ports on the far right that are actually 10 gigs. So not only will you be stuck to just fiber, but you can also use copper for 10 gig connections. So if there's devices that don't use fiber, or NIC cards that you don't have that are fiber, you can still take advantage of that 10 gig speed over copper. And that's what these ports are there for. Anything that is outside of that blue color, those are 1 gig 1 gig connections. May even be like 2.5 or something like that, right? So that is it for, looking at them and spotting a switch and the basics of them. Now, I also explained that there are also many different types of switches. You have some that are small, some that are very large. Well, I just showed you all very large ones, but if you paid attention in that video, you may have also spotted a smaller switch in this lab. Take a look. All right, so I mentioned about smaller switches, right? This is a perfect example of a small switch. This is a Netgear GS108, and this is an unmanaged switch. One thing about switches is you have two different types of, I guess, how can I explain it? Characteristics of a switch. You have managed and then you have unmanaged. Managed switches such as these and these over here are switches which you are able to manage either remotely, or you can go into them through the console cable or some type of user interface and manage those switches. Unmanaged switches, on the other hand, are just plug and play switches. It's just a switch that is designed for you to plug things in and they're just ready to go right out of the box. This is an unmanaged switch. It's very small. I only have two connections going to them, and they're copper. And they're just about 8 ports. You will see some unmanaged switches that are just 8 ports. I also have another small unmanaged switch right on the floor here. This is another unmanaged switch. This is a D-Link switch. See, there's like a ventilation on the back here, and then we also have 5 ports. So this has a total of 5 ports. Sit there. This has a total of 8. So these are two perfect examples of unmanaged switches, and they're both saying 1 gig speeds. So again, these are very unmanaged switches, and they're very small. And if you're looking just to connect certain things together, there has been cases where I've seen these switches actually serve in a very important functionality in an enterprise network. And it's pretty interesting to see, to see architecture like that. But if any of you all know what I'm talking about, if there are any engineers that are watching this video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So these are unmanaged switches. These are managed switches. How can you tell? Usually you can read them. You can research their data sheets, and they will tell you. What I recommend, just looking based off how they look and see if they're, that's how you can determine if a switch is managed or unmanaged. I kind of don't recommend that, just because you always want to be on the safe side. If you are getting a switch and you want to train and practice on configuring them, you want to make sure they're manageable, like you can manage those. So I always look at the data sheet. I always do research on the model before I would purchase something. But it can be very obvious. But yes, these are switches. So yeah, it's just a quick video that I wanted to show you all here. Not only was I'm going to just talk about it, but I was actually going to show you what switches are, how they look, and how to look at the network, how they function. Now, I am planning on doing another video where we can go into the technicals of switches, where we can actually configure some, and I can show you around and how a switch actually, or how it does its job in a network. So that will be in another video after this one. And then we can start talking about routers. And that's what I really want to do. And then we could talk about wireless access points, then firewalls. So let's just keep the journey going, and I will see you all in the next video. See you later.